Our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Evolved the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny.
The United States of America, the greatest nation in history, ordained by our founders to be guided by divine providence. But today, we are witnessing the orchestrated disintegration of America. Take a few seconds and take a look around your town, your state, look at your country and your world, and boldly ask, what in the hell is going on?
But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
Welcome to the podcast Project Third Eye Opened, where we dare to question with boldness the events that are unfolding around us that others won't. At the end of the day, it is we the people who will decide the destiny of the nation. Now, introducing your host, Tony L.
Greetings, America. This is Tony L. And you are experiencing a new video as well as audio podcast presentation. Hope everyone's doing well, doing very, very challenging and interesting, fascinating times in which we are currently living and existing. And definitely, as always, I must give appreciation to the Most High, for without Him, I would not be here, would not be doing this, would not have been born in the greatest country on the planet. Again, though not perfect, but a far, 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 far gap between this country and many others. These are very challenging times, particularly during these times with such immense political discord, distrust, particularly in this country. I see the chaos, confusion, and drama going on, particularly in other Western cultures, Western countries, Canada, the UK, Germany, Australia. All of them are just off the chain. It's like we do not know history. We have thrown history in the garbage, and what we call file 14. We just don't have any attachment, apparently, to the missteps of forefathers. It's pretty interesting. One of the most prolific books that you could read that has had what I think is one of the most phenomenal impacts on politics, particularly in this country. And I dare say when I look at what's going on in Europe, definitely over there as well, because if y'all don't recognize that the similarities in what's going on in all Western cultures today, it's not by accident. It's not by accident. It can't be, because it's too identical. It's like mirror images, with slight variances due to the culture and the people, but the comparison cannot be overlooked in the fact that it closely resembles what's going on in each country, culturally, family-wise, political-wise. The verbiage that is used to attack, particularly the right, and no such equal light is shown on the actions of the left, not by accident. And this man, Saul Alinsky, in my humble opinion, has had more of an impact on how politics is ran and how politics is conveyed to the people in a destructive manner, arguably one could say, even more so than the book Propaganda by Edward Goebbels, Edward Bernays. If you haven't had the opportunity to read that book, I definitely highly recommend you doing so. If you haven't read Rules for Radicals, definitely would recommend you reading this book as well. And I'm going to go through this book and hopefully in a different manner than anyone else has. I'm going to break it down and I'm going to apply it to the three most recent presidents. And Saul Alinsky and has had two of the most prominent political figures as his acolytes, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was more at an arm's length, but definitely impacted her life. Definitely impacted her life. But the one who had a front row seat, Barack Obama. Barack Obama. And I'm gonna go through this, and I'm gonna show you how it has impacted our political environment and our society, and it would never be the same again. So, this gives you a little background. Saul Alinsky, born at the turn of the century, 1909, in Chicago. He died in 1972. He was considered as an American social organizer who stimulated the creation of numerous activists that were activists, citizen and community groups. One who called him the forefather of community activism, because apparently there was no such thing before him. There was community organizations, but the posture and the attitude of his type of organizations was apparently never before seen. He was college educated. He was educated as in archaeology and criminology. He worked as a criminologist in Illinois for 8 years. 1932, he undertook his first community organizing campaign in a working class area of Chicago. The result was the back of the Arts Council, excuse me, back of the Arts Council, which became a prototype for a generation of community organizations. In 1940, he founded the Industrial Areas Foundation and trained cadres of organizations in his techniques. After the war, where he served in several federal agencies, he and his IAF team carried these techniques to communities throughout the country. The Community Service Organization in California provided early training for Cesar Chavez, who went on to found the United Farmers Workers of America. After his college training in archaeology and criminology, Alinsky worked as a criminologist in Illinois for 8 years. In 1932, he undertook his first community organizing. Sorry, didn't mean to stutter there. So Alinsky identified as a radical and was involved in leftist movements, but he did not identify himself strictly as a socialist. But what I would show you is that his socialist, Marxist, and his leftist positions, techniques are meshed together. Maybe not in the same bed, but definitely in the same room. A coin is phrase when referring to his type of organizing, conflict organizing. Conflict. Apparently before his style, there was regular organizing. I guess, like people did, I guess, have strikes and such, but his was definitely positioned in the conflicting posture and attitude. It says in conflict organizing, strong internal community ties are thought to be sufficient to empower people and effect change. But in practice, some conflict organizers explicitly reject developing associations with those in power. So they didn't see a need, or they didn't see a desire to create a relationship with those who they are trying to communicate with. Explicitly rejecting developing associations with those in power for fear of having group members co-opted, change their mind when they share responsibilities with people in advantaged positions. So my question, are you trying to come to a resolution or not? Are you trying to seek honor with your fellow man, with your brother, or reach a consensus peacefully with your brother or not? That's my question. So let's get into the 12 rules for radicals, and I'm going through all 12. Hopefully it won't go long. I thought about doing this in 2 parts, but I want to really get this done in one, so you won't lose anything and you get in all in one setting. Um, so rule number one: power is not only what you have, but what your enemy thinks you have. Power is derived from two main sources: money and people. Have-nots. How many of y'all have heard Hillary mention the have-nots? The have and have-nots. Barack Obama, the have-nots. They definitely are students of their teacher. Have and have-nots must build power from flesh and blood. These are two things of which there is a plentiful supply. Government and corporations always have a difficult time appealing to people, and usually do so almost exclusively with economic arguments. Okay, let's go. Barack Obama, starting with him. This is basically, of course, he did 2 terms, but largely he set his foundation, of course, in his first term. So this is going for 2010, the Affordable Care Act. Okay. One of the most significant examples of Alinsky's Rule 1 in action was the Obama administration's push for Affordable Care Act. Perception of unstoppable movement. Despite deep political opposition, Obama's team created the impression that healthcare reform was inevitable and had massive public support. Public pressure on lawmakers. The administration framed the ACA as a moral and social movement, mobilizing grassroots activists to pressure wavering Democrats and moderate Republicans, undermining opponents. The opposition, Tea Party, conservative groups, and industry lobbyists were painted as prioritizing profits over people's health. Even though the ACA barely passed and faced challenges, the perception of its inevitability forced many lawmakers to align with their fearing political consequences if they resisted. That word, perception. Perception beats reality in this case. And in much of Saul Alinsky's tactics, it's the perception of strength. And even ancient Asian when you look at the whole notion of winning a battle before you get on the field, or having your enemy perceive you to be weak when you're strong. All of these are not new principles. All of these are not new principles. Sun Tzu had this particularly, this concept, this notion already in his bag years ago. So how did Mr. Biden apply this? Because again, Saul Alinsky's rules has changed a generation and has forever changed the political landscape. Because when you look at these 2 main individuals, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and particularly Barack Obama, he had 2 full presidential terms, that's 8 years. Plus he had Biden at his side for those 8 years, and then Biden had his own 4-year stint. All those people, many are the same, but many were not, that were within their inner circle, slightly outside of the inner circle, slightly outside of that inner circle, all those people who were impacted, who were included in the movement from within the power structure. And those people that they influenced, and so forth and so on. And then when you bring in the media and how they contributed to the perceived force, and many of them, of course, bought into and enabled the actions to persist, you can see the great, immense impact that this theology will have for years to come. For years to come. And you will see that it hasn't been picked up just by leftists, because the right had to do something, but not to the same degree, and never will be for the same degree, in my humble opinion, because of Saul Alinsky's come from. The purpose of Saul Alinsky's theology ain't good. But when you're getting beat over the head with something, you might want to try to reach for that same object or something similar, just to start beating back. But the come from is going to be different. Even in that analogy, I'm picking up my stick just to defend myself against being bludgeoned. And you will see that play out in this. So in regards to Biden, okay, again, he was an acolyte under Obama. Okay. In 2020, battle for the soul of America. He picked up this election narrative. This is going after Trump. Biden's most significant applications of World War I was during the 2020 election, particularly in shaping the perception. Here's that word again, perception of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. And I just want to pause. MAGA, make America great again. And it always frustrated me. How can make the words to make America great again ever be turned into a 4-letter word? And they found a way. They found a way, and they have done it to perfection. But question, in what other generation could that have ever been possible, to turn make America great, your country, this country great again, be turned into a 4-letter word, not to be spoken, to be easily denigrated, ridiculed, impugned, belittled, criticized. What other generation, indeed. But they did it. They did it, and are still doing it. Framing Trump as a threat instead of just running on policy. The left can never run on their policy. Barack Obama didn't do it, couldn't do it. Hillary didn't do it. Biden didn't do it. If they had run on their policy and been truthful to the American people and the U.S. voter with their intentions, It's not a question of whether or not they would have been elected in spite of. Hell no. They would not have even gotten close, but that's the thing. They never tell you their true intentions, that their intention is to ruin this country. Their intention is to bring down the achievers and make everybody equal. Never to raise up those who are behind and those who are on the bottom. Never to raise them up to get off their knees and to raise them up to the more positive and successful level. No, it's always the opposite. Always the opposite. If they will run on their true intentions, they know they would never sniff high political office. That's why they don't do it. That's why they don't do it. Coalition building and perception of popularity. The campaign projected an image of overwhelming public support, despite concerns about voter enthusiasm. Nobody was enthused about Biden. Not before, not during his election, and not after his election. Nobody was standing in the rain to see this man, to listen to this man. Y'all remember when they showed video of his campaign stops? Nobody was there. And even in his even with Kamala Harris, they had to orchestrate the perception of audiences, mass audiences. They had to come when there was a concept, like for Beyonce or some popular person was scheduled to perform or make a presence there. It wasn't to see them, but the perception. When you saw that mass crowd for Biden alongside Beyonce or some other celebrity, Kamala Harris, same thing. Hillary Clinton, same thing. You know who didn't have a problem drawing a crowd? Trump. Not his first term, not his attempt at the second term, and certainly not this third term. Why? Because people actually wanted to hear what he had to say. Entertaining, energetic. People actually wanted to hear what he had to say. Not true with Biden, not true with Hillary. You could say true with Obama, particularly in his first term, not so much in his second, comparatively speaking. Suppressing Trump's influence by labeling Trump's presidency as a chaotic failure. Biden's campaign made Trump's base seem smaller than it was, discouraging swing voters from aligning with him. Again, this is in Trump's attempt to get reelected after his first administration. This strategy helped Biden win moderates, independents, and independents created the perception that the country was moving away from Trump, even though Trump still had a strong base. Again, he won more votes in his second term to be reelected than he did in his first. He was not unpopular. COVID dampened, and some would say harpoon, particularly how he reacted to the crisis. How maybe people perceived him and could be allowed to perceive his presidency. But before COVID, he was rolling. The country was rolling. But the media made you forget about all that, even to this day. What? We were energy independent? Yeah, we were. We were. Eggs didn't cost $6 under Trump. Gas was not $3, $4 under Trump. This wasn't. So how did Trump apply World War I? In 2018, the Trump administration's zero tolerance policy. Trump's 18 administration implemented the zero tolerance policy in regards to illegal border crossings, leading to the perception leading to the prosecution of all apprehended adults and separation of families. This policy was intended to deter illegal immigration by projecting a stance of unwavering enforcement. See who's being targeted by Trump, and who was being targeted by Obama and Biden using this technique. Public messaging. The administration's emphasis emphasized the severity and inevitability of enforcement actions, creating the perception, that's that word again, that any attempt at illegal entry would result in strict consequences. This projection aimed to discourage potential migrants by amplifying the perceived risks. Impact on perception. By projecting an image of rigorous enforcement, the administration sought to leverage the deterrent effect of perceived power. That power is derived from what the opposition believes you possess. This strategic emphasis on perception over actual resource deployment illustrates the application of Alinsky's Rule 1 in shaping policy outcomes through the management of public and advisory perceptions. That word, keep showing up, perception. Let's go to Rule 2. Never go outside the expertise of your people. It results in confusion, fear, and retreat. Feeling secure adds to the backbone of anyone. Organizations under attack wonder why radicals don't address the real issues. That's why. They avoid things with which they have no knowledge. That's why you don't never see liberals come up with real solutions. They come up with feel good. Remember the Hutus capturing a bunch of women, I believe, in Africa, and the response by the Obama administration was to do emojis. Y'all remember that? Or feel good slogans? No real actions. Just feel good. We want you to feel good. The perception of doing something. Not standing still. So I'm going to throw out lofty feel good words or emojis or tweets. All about the feeling. I attempted to do something. I wanted to do something. I want to feel your pain. Never about real doing and achieving. The Obama administration focused on grassroots organizing and healthcare. Let's see. Did I do that? The Obama administration stayed within its expertise, community organizing, public mobilization, and progressive policy messaging. Rather than directly battling insurance companies on economic grounds, they framed the healthcare debate as a human rights issue, leveraging the ability to connect with the public rather than engaging in wonky economic arguments they could not control. When attacked on specifics, they redirected the conversation to moral imperatives such as no one should go bankrupt because they are sick. Why this followed Rule 2? The Obama's team knew healthcare was complex, but they stuck with what they knew best: activating grassroots support, media messaging, and moral framing. If you like your doctor, you keep your doctor. Remember that? Biden used this technique during COVID and the American Rescue Plan. Biden's administration made COVID-19 response a priority because public health, economic recovery were within the Democratic Party's policy strengths. Big government solutions, stimulus funding, and expert-driven strategies. I got sick of hearing experts say. All experts agree. Follow the experts. Believe the experts. But it was never any expert, quote unquote, that was outside of their political environment. Never conservative. Always somebody who already believed in their political, were part of their political persuasion. You notice that? And they love big government. All Democrats love big government. You can't name me even with JFK and his tax cuts. He still likes big government. All Democrats do. Some Republicans, i.e. Bush Jr. But for the most part, Republicans want to seek to reduce government. More government, more power to the people. Look at what Trump is doing. It's not perfect, but what Democrat would believe or can name that would even offer the perception of doing half of what Trump is doing in regards to reducing taxes on the middleman by reducing or eliminating onerous regulations. I can't think of one. Move forward. Rather than engaging in culture wars over lockdowns and masks, the Biden's team stuck to clear expert messaging. Trust the scientists, trust the experts, follow the CDC. Don't think for yourself. Just trust the experts, somebody that you don't know, because they got a name and 3 letters after their name. They must know what they're doing, and therefore it has to be good for you, without question. The administration also prioritized infrastructure spending, an area with bipartisan support, avoiding divisive ideological battles. They couldn't win. The left can never win just based on truth and facts. That's why they don't get involved in those type of discussions or debates, because they can't win. They can never win on the ground of, is your plan better than mine? Just apples to apples. They can't win. They have to go to emotion, feelings. Have to go to emotions. They start throwing out names. Emotion. Never facts. Never. Rarely logic. Rarely logic. Always emotion. Always emotion. Look at what their followers are doing and their Antifa or just people going out bombing Tesla dealerships. Why they bombing Tesla dealerships? With this 4 years ago, Tesla was on every leftist wall. Leftists going buying Teslas because it was so-called green. Now you want to bomb them because they're no longer perceived to be on your team? What's the logic behind that? Is that all emotion? Why this followed Rule 2? The Biden's team didn't get distracted by issues where they lacked control, i.e. social media censorship debates. They didn't talk about that, but they were doing it. They didn't want to talk about it though, but they were definitely the ones that were involved in this social censorship. They didn't want anybody to disallow them from doing that. No. But they didn't want to talk about it. They just let their opinions do the dirty work. And instead focus on areas where Democrats have historical credibility: public health, government spending. Stay in your lane, right? Stay in your lane. So how did Trump use this technique? Again, notice how the application differs. It's stark. It is stark. Trump used Rule 2 in America First, in immigration. Trump administration made immigration a central issue because it aligned with their expertise in nationalist and populist messaging. Right? And he's still doing that. He's still doing, because it works, and that's in his wheelhouse. Trump didn't get into the nuances of economic policy or legislative process, where he lacked deep expertise. He stuck to simple, bold messaging like build a wall and Mexico will pay for it. His team avoided technical debates and kept their base engaged with rhetoric that played to their strengths: security, sovereignty, and strong leadership. Trump's success in sticking to his basis priorities, and not getting laws and policy complexities that would weaken his message made this technique very successful. Now we go to Rule 3. Rule 3 says, whenever possible, go outside the expertise of the enemy. Not outside your expertise, the expertise of the enemy. Look for ways to increase insecurity, anxiety, and uncertainty. This happens all the time. Watch how many organizations under attack are blindsided by seemingly irrelevant arguments that they are then forced to address. You think you are in an argument or debate on one subject, but then your opponent comes from just out of nowhere and brings this other topic or issue up that's totally unrelated. Now you're off balance and are forced to respond, leaving the initial argument or debate. Right? Remember what happened to Romney when he was going up against Obama? Some reason we started talking about Romney when he was in elementary. What? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Crazy. The Obama administration shifting the battlefield on social issues. He brought in gay marriage and social justice. Who was talking about that before him? Social justice? That's completely Marxist. Social justice. Why not just justice for all? Social justice. Isn't the society for everybody? But it's my social justice and gay marriage. Is that not a oxymoron? Gay marriage, two people of the same gender, marriage. Yeah, that's a topic for another conversation. Republicans traditionally dominated the cultural war by focusing on conservative family values and opposition to same-sex marriage. The Obama campaign flipped the debate by framing LGBTQ rights as a civil rights issue, something Republicans had less experience. This came out of left field. Republicans didn't see this coming. How could this be a civil rights issue? And they allowed them to make that case. This and I got so irritated by the LGBTQ people trying to attach this as a civil rights issue as though it was anything relative to the experience of Negro Americans in this country. The Republicans backed up and let them have the field to their detriment. Going on. By shifting the argument to equality and personal freedom, Obama put his opponents in a tough position. Defending traditional marriage seemed anti-freedom, making conservatives struggle to respond without alienating moderates. It forced Republicans to take defensive positions on discrimination rather than leading with their core values. The shift weakened Republican messaging and helped drive support for Obama in 2012. When you give up ground in your own home, on your own turf, you got a problem. You got a problem. And that's in any area of your life. If you staked out ground on a field on principle, you should never leave that. That's a hill you should die on. Figuratively speaking, of course. But Republicans, in this culture of overly feminized emotionally charged, can't offend anybody. This is what we are left with. At what point should family, the traditional family, be indefensible? The union applied by God himself. How can that ever become indefensible? How can you not defend the traditional family and all its aspects and all that it contributes, all that it offers, the natural union of a man and a woman to produce a child? How can that ever become indefensible against any notion to the otherwise? Man and man and woman, that should never be anything that can have an argument that can succeed against a man and a woman. But the Republicans abandoned their field and are still doing so today. And it's having detrimental impact on our children. Have y'all seen what they're being taught in government schools in regards to family? Have y'all seen what is being visually channeled through the media, through entertainment, through the TV, in regards to man kissing man and the whole aspect of transgenderism? And you're surprised that you're seeing more and more he/she's attacking children? What else they gonna do? If they can't have offsprings of their own, what else they gonna do? They gonna come after yours. And you're surprised by that. Really? Obama set all of this in motion. The Republicans and conservatives just stepped aside and let them have the field that we have always dominated: family and traditional Americanism. Can't blame Obama. You gonna let him do something? Let him take what's yours? That's a you problem. By Obama taking putting Republicans in an uncomfortable position, forcing them to justify a position, banning gay marriage, that was increasingly unpopular and difficult to defend outside of their base because they did not articulate a position that only a man and a woman can have a family, a child. We all know that. Even people who are in homosexual relationships, they eventually got to go to a heterosexual to have a child, right? How can you argue against that? It's not an issue of saying, can you can you adopt? I even started calling it a family. Can you adopt a child? But you can't call that a marriage. You call that a union. It's all about the words. It's all about the words. A family is specifically defined as the man and a woman having a child. That's a family. before all this came in, when a person, when two people who were in a family got divorced and they had a child, it was referred to as a broken family. You don't hear that word, that term used anymore at all, because you changed the conversation, you changed the words, you changed the meaning of things and words. And the Republicans and the conservatives allowed that to happen. And Obama took advantage of it. Biden, he used this strategy, and again, going after MAGA, redefining MAGA as the extremist threat. Rather than debating policy, Biden's team redefined the Republicans' opposition as not just political rivals, but dangerous extremists threatening democracy. The term MAGA, Make America Great Again, really, became more than just a slogan. It was framed in a radical anti-American, framed as radical anti-American and authoritarian. Of course, this was greatly aided by the political media, and still is today, without any true pushback. Again, if you see ground, nothing's going to come from that. This forced moderate Republicans and swing voters into an uncomfortable position. If they defended Trump, they risked looking extreme. If they distanced themselves, they risked losing their base of support. This is why America is losing, because we no longer feel comfortable defending who and what we are. We no longer feel comfortable in defending Americanism. We no longer feel comfortable in defending the founders. Though not perfect, but they were our founders, and they are a lot better than anything else going on anywhere in the world. And we cannot defend Make America Great Again, and we can't defend what's a man, what's a woman. If we cannot defend what is a family, the truth is on the moon. You can't defend anything. You're always going to be on your heels. You're always going to be backing up, because now they got you. They got you on the run. They got you moving. They have removed you from the ground in which you were the dominant one. They removed you from the ground or the position where you knew you come from. You knew who and what you were, what you are. They moved you from that. And now they're the dominant force, because they got all the energy at their back. This is not new, folks. It's physics. It's physics. And it's psychological, which is really what Rules for Radical applies. By forcing Republicans into this new battlefield, democracy versus extremism, Biden's team made them struggle with eternal fractures while shifting the national conversation away from economic concerns, bread and butter issues, how you're paying $6 for a carton of eggs when you weren't paying that before your administration. Why am I forced to get gig jobs because I'm losing my regular jobs? Why is the push to have my McDonald's employment be eliminated because y'all force the owner to have to pay me $25 an hour when I was happy getting paid $7. Now I don't have a job. No, we ain't talking about that. We ain't talking about that. We're talking about whether Trump is the extremist. Was he's the one that had us economically independent, energy independent, had gas going down below $2 a gallon, had household incomes going up. That guy just an extremist, but you're not? Man, that's Houdini right there. They had everybody looking at the left hand and forgot about the right hand going across your chin. Masterful. Masterful. The Biden administration moved the fight from policy debates to ideological battle, making the Republicans defend democracy itself a topic they weren't prepared to fight on effectively. It moved you off your ground. One more. Of course, we got to see how Trump used number 3. And this is going to be a bipart. I'm not going to take this over too much, and I think y'all will enjoy it better in parts. So I'm going to do that. So Trump used number 3 in attacking the media as fake news, which was very, 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 very good on his part. Delegitimizing traditional media. Mainstream media had long been an established force in shaping political narratives, often seen as fact checkers that could hold politicians accountable. Trump flipped the script by relentlessly attacking major outlets as fake news and undermining their credibility. Masterful job. And now you hear fake news everywhere, and some they try to flip fake news and for it to encompass particularly conservative media outlets and conservative thought as fake news. The media accustomed to shaping political opinions suddenly had to defend themselves a position they weren't used to. Instead of just covering the news, they had to explain why they weren't biased, creating defensive, anxious reporting. The more they fought back, the more Trump's base believed the media was against them, further weakening their influence, and their influence has never been weaker than what it is now, thanks to Trump. The strategy made the media the story, rather than Trump himself, forcing them onto unfamiliar ground where they struggled to regain control. By Trump using this method, the credibility of the media itself is self-reactive. Okay, forgive me. This is wrong. The credibility of the media itself put them in a defensive posture. Let's just say that. And I'm going to stop here for now. But I just want y'all to think about these first 3, and again, we're going to 12, y'all, and then some, because I'm going to put all this together. But y'all should be able to see that there is a difference in the application of rules for radicals when Trump uses it, i.e. the conservative, and Biden and people like Biden and Obama, they use it to attack. So, yeah, this man's theology, his book, changed not only the political world, but the whole Western world, particularly, forever. And stay tuned for part 2.
Thanks for listening to today's show. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And look for Project Third Eye Open on your favorite social media platforms. Check out our webpage at projectthirdeyeopen.com. And that's Third Eye with the letter I. projectthirdeyeopen.com. Or drop us a note at tonyel@projectthirdeyeopen.com. That's tonyel@projectthirdeyeopen.com. As you wait for our next podcast to drop, don't take anything we've said as fact. Instead, do your own homework, make up your own mind, then take action. Until next time, be blessed, be good, and be free.